Hey folks, Doug Blake with Body Design University. Welcome to another weekly study. And in today's video, I want to go over another way of studying the entire textbook. Okay, so I'm not going to hit you with anything specific or any particular piece of information in any particular chapter. I just want to give you an idea of another way that you could sort of condense and sort the material out for your mental consumption, so to speak. And a lot of students get really caught up in a very specific way of studying. And if that works for you, then great. If that's how it's going to help you to pass the actual ACE exam, then by all means, utilize the techniques that work for you. But for the most part, we know that folks really struggle with exactly how to study. Now, I will say that what I'm going to show you today is just another way. I'm not saying this is going to be the best way. In fact, it can be very helpful for some folks, but for other folks, I'm going to recommend the tried and true method that we normally talk about, which is going chapter by chapter, determining how much time you have to spend to study in total before you take your exam. So if you've got 4 months to study, you can spend a lot of time going through the textbook chapter by chapter, going through our study videos, study guides, using the audio book for each chapter that we provide. Do it chapter by chapter. Use the Quizlet study sets, all of those modalities of learning that can help you. Absolutely, that's going to be the best way. And by the way, the read, write, recite method that I've always recommended student use is irrespective of your learning style. But remember, if you do have more of an audiological learning component, then you're going to need to obviously make some adjustments to how you're studying. Look, if you're an audiological learner or a kinesthetic learner, by the way, kinesthetic, use the little squeezy balls, you're going to need to interact in a different way or a more unique way with the material versus the visual learner or like the reading, writing learner. Who can just simply read through a textbook, learn the material, and memorize it. That's not going to be the case for a lot of you. But the general way is to go chapter by chapter, chewing it apart, breaking it into pieces, different methodologies for dealing with the material in each chapter. And then there's this other way. Now, I'm going to say I've used this successfully with students who just get frustrated, just have a very, very difficult time staying in one chapter and moving on to the next one. And the recommendation here is that you try sort of gobbling up the information in sections, and ACE has already done it for you. Now, it may seem really simple, really sophomoric, but keep in mind, generally, it's not the information that makes it challenging. It's the methodology of getting that information into your gray matter that can be problematic. In other words, I get bored fairly easily. So what I try to do is I try to read material. So if I'm reading research studies, and I've got to read lots of research studies on a regular basis, and they get really, really boring. So what I'll do is I'll group them into, different areas that they're related to. And then sometimes I'll read research studies by year. It just kind of makes it a little bit different and makes it more interesting. So I can read something from 2018 and just read all the research from 2018. And sometimes I'll break it into a date range, all research material from 2010 to 2015 on this particular subject matter. It's the same thing with the textbook. Do it chapter by chapter. And if it works, great. But you could also try, just for the fun of it, if you've got the time, right? 30 days, 60 days, whatever, break up your studying into the sections or even the domains. Remember, ACE takes their material and breaks it into domains as well. So there's another way to do it. But let me just show you real quick, because the textbook is already set up like this. And that's why I just wanted to show it to you. And I'm just going to go ahead to an overhead shot. So again, the way I would recommend kind of to make things a little bit different and maybe a little bit interesting is go ahead and you're going to notice that ACE has, I'm just moving into the table of contents. ACE has section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they got 5 sections, and you may want to consider grouping your studying by sections. Now, keep in mind, section 1 is 2 chapters. Section 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters. What I don't want you to do is get too caught up in the importance of each chapter. Okay, I know that may sound counterintuitive because when we do the chapter by chapter, we know that chapter 1 is sort of a moderate importance chapter, but then the chapters related to, for instance, assessments, training, chapter 7 and 8, these are really high priority chapters. They're going to take a lot of questions from these particular chapters and represent them on the test. But what I want you to do is think about this method just as an aside, a different way of making the material, sort of re-engaging the material to make it interesting. Okay, I'm not telling you this is the primary way to do it, but give it a shot if the chapter by chapter way you're doing it is not working. Take a deep breath, shake it off, and go back to the textbook and just look at and take your eat your elephant one bite at a time, but just go through section 1. And what I'm saying is that you're going to essentially go through chapter 1 and chapter 2, right? Let me get this, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Right here, this is going to be your major focus of study, right? Section 1. So section 1, you're going to use your paper. You can write it out, go through all of your material the way I have already suggested in other previous videos. Read, write, recite over and over and over, and you can't not memorize it. It's almost impossible. So the idea is that once you're done with section 1, you've got 5 sections. It kind of gives you an opportunity to rethink the material, because just keep in mind, the sections, the way ACE has this designed is that the sections group material in a way that makes sense, right, from the learning perspective. They're saying that chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6 are a client-centered approach to personal training. And so those 4 chapters generally are going to contain material that are pretty cohesive as a single learning unit. And that's why they put it together like this. Now that can help some people. And that's why I'm giving you this little tip, that if you're struggling and you're not finding cohesion, you're not finding the connections being made, for instance, with their IFT model or whatever the case is, sometimes sort of reestablishing your connection with the material in this type of scenario can help you. So that's why I'm just giving you this quick, I would say this is fairly quick video, quick tip on another way, sort of roundabout way to attack the information, attack the material, to plug it in here. And that's what I want you to do. I hope this was helpful. Remember, you got 5 sections, work on each one at a time. Go back to the chapter by chapter after that, or start with chapter by chapter, and then perhaps go into this sectional type of studying scenario. And you let us know how it works for you. If you're watching this video on our YouTube channel, please subscribe and just make sure that you hit the bell so that you can know when the new material is coming out, the notification, as well as leaving comments below for us. The idea is that we want you to pass the ACE exam on the first attempt, if it's your first attempt, or if it's not, whatever attempt you're on. Our goal is to assist you. It's to help you. And the way we do that is by you posting questions and letting us know how we can help. And we can do a weekly session, just as a, for instance, on your particular question. So again, leave comments and let us know how this has helped you. And we will see you next week. Thanks.